Hi guys, so today I'm going to be planting the rest of my tomatoes and I'm going to show you how I do it. There's many ways to do it. Some people do trenches and lay them down sideways. Some people dig them really deep. I do mine just a little bit different. I do a deep hole and I put compost in the hole, and then I add my plant and I prune up the branches up to like the top 2 or 3 leaves. And then bury as much of that stem as I can, because on tomatoes, right here on the tomatoes, can you see that? Can you see that? The little hairs, all of those will become roots if that is what is asked of them to do, and how you ask is you put them in the ground. So I'm going to tear off all of them little branches, except for these last few up here. Tear that off because we don't want it putting its energy into blooms yet. I soak this container from the bottom, water it overnight so that it's good and saturated dirt, because when you transplant anything, it's going to stress them out. So you want to give them as much comfort as you can. So in the hole, I also don't till up my whole garden. I just dig the hole that I need. I only disturb the dirt that I need to disturb to put the plant in. And in this area here, I do tomatoes in frequently. Tomatoes or potatoes or cucumbers, things like that, in frequently. Last year was cucumbers and peppers. So this year is going to be tomatoes. And I kind of alternate so that we don't get blights and certain insects and stuff living in the ground that kill one type of plant. So I have planted clover in here, and I have got a pretty good thick carpet of clover. Clover only grows so tall, so that I don't have to worry about, like, if my tomato plant falls over or something like that, I don't have to worry about weeds and grass and stuff growing up through it and just taking over the plant, because it's only going to get so tall. Plus, clover also puts nitrogen in the ground. It keeps your ground loose to where it's, it's crumbly and the roots can get through it good. Let me go through the process here. And I take a weed eater and I cut a circle out of the ground there that I'm going to dig a hole. And then I dig the hole, and then I put about a half a shovel full of the compost in there. And my compost is what I call chicken mulch. And what I do is I take the stall cleanings from my horses. So I'll have hay, shavings, and horse poop and pee. And then I take that out of their stalls and I put it in my chicken run, and they churn it and churn it and churn it, and then they add their own nitrogen to it, their own chicken poop. And any scraps I have in the house, kitchen scraps, things like that, also go in the back of the run. And so all that gets churned in, and when it's good and loose but diggable, and the worms are all the way through it, then that tells me it's ready to use. So I just put in a half a shovel in here. I line the hole with it, okay, and then I get my plant, and this is a pretty good set of roots on here. It's not too root bound, even though it's getting late in May. The last one I did was pretty root bound, and that's what made me think of doing the video for you guys. But anyway, so I take the roots and I shag them out, because I want them to really go and explore the ground underneath the surface and get water and nutrients from wherever it can find it. Okay, so that's pretty good and shaggy. And then I bury it pretty deep. And then I take my dirt, and this is how loose the dirt is that is underneath your clover, that you can just crumble it. And around here, we don't have too much topsoil. We have a lot of clay. So clay is really hard to crumble. Good worms, throw them in there. See, you can just crumble that dirt in there. All nice and loose. Get the worms. I don't particularly care for grubs being in there, because that brings moles. Get rid of that. And then big old guys. I find this method to be the least work. I have to prune up my tomatoes, and I'll attach them to this cattle panel here as they get bigger. I've already got some wire from the previous years still on here, but I will prune them up so it'll be just nothing but a stalk to about this high, and then I'll let it start bushing out, and as long as it stays up against the cattle panel. Don't be afraid to prune your tomatoes, because what you're going to do is give it the best chance of success for good, big, tasty tomatoes. If you leave them on the ground, then bugs and things like that are going to get to them. The weeds are going to drown them out and compete with nutrients. So go ahead and prune them so that you can take care of them. About once a week is all it's going to take. And then as these get bigger and bigger, then you'll just break off the bottom limbs. Let me get you down here. So anything that has leaves on it like this can be pruned off. When this plant gets bigger, what you don't want to do is get the one that's going to have the fruit on it. Let's see. So like this guy here. Like these guys here. See if you can see. See how that stem only has the blossoms on it? This guy here has nothing but leaves on it. So I'm not ready for this guy to have these blossoms yet. So I'm going to pluck them off. Oh no, look at that guy. He's still too little. Oh, that hurts my heart to have to do that. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and prune this guy. He's been in the ground a couple of weeks. So I'm just going to take off these ones here that are nothing but leaves. This is going to allow the plant to grow bigger and better with the nutrients in the ground. This is my watering system here. I don't know if you've seen that video, but I fill this up with 1,000 cc's of water. It goes directly in the ground, so I don't have to water my leaves. But as this guy gets bigger, I'll attach him to the cattle panel here, and then keep attaching him about once a week and pruning his bottom leaves up until I have just a nice canopy to shade out my tomatoes when they come on, because I don't want them to get sunburnt. But that's about it as far as planting my tomatoes. I will water them in pretty good right now, even though I watered them good last night. I want the surrounding ground to be watered as well. So I'll water them in. I will fertilize about every 3 weeks or so. Just put a little top dressing fertilizer on it. Or you can get some more of your compost and put that on there and water it in real good. But these here are going to be my spaghetti sauces, my pizza sauces, my salsas. We eat a lot of tomato sauces throughout the year. I make soups with them and things like that. So this is a big deal for me, is to have a bunch of good tomato plants. What I planted today was my Roma tomatoes. They are more meat than they are seed. They have a less water content for them, so you get a thicker sauce just by using that type of tomato. And then the ones I planted a couple of weeks ago are my 4th of July slicer tomatoes. They're a good size tomato. A lot of people at the farmers market sell them. They're just a good size. You get several good slices off one, and it's just a good all around tomato. It's not real bumpy. It doesn't have a bunch of knots in it and things like that. It's a nice round red slicer tomato. Not saying anything bad about the big bumpy ones like the Cherokee purples and things like that, because I do love those. I'm just choosing to grow the 4th of July ones this year. So get out in your garden. If you come across something that you need help with, give me a holler and I'll see what I can do, see if I can help. I've been doing this for several years now, and we probably put up maybe 60 to 70% of our canned goods, our tomato products, corn products, potato products, squashes, pumpkins, cabbages, broccolis, fruits. I got strawberries, apples. Then I'll buy local peaches and things like that until my peach trees get big enough to give me some peaches. I get some pears from family members and we put those up. So if I don't grow it here, I buy it local as I can. And but yeah, we put up about 60 to 70% of what we eat. And I don't know, it really helps out with the budget. I know what we're putting in our bodies. I know exactly what's in that jar, you know. Pretty much the actual food and water and salt is pretty much all that's usually in there, unless it's a spaghetti sauce or something like that. But we will go over pruning later on as I prune mine. We will go over fertilizing later on. But this is just how I get them in the ground. And if you're in Kentucky or in our same area, then you're probably doing the same thing, or at least thinking about it right about now. And it's still not too late. Get out and get your garden going. If you want to do raised beds, throw them together real quick. If you want to just, you know, till a square in the ground, that's fine too. You know, that's probably the most traditional way. All this raised beds and, you know, leaving the ground cover on and things like that, that's fairly a new thought, probably the last 30-40 years or so. But you can grow in your flower beds around the house. You can grow on your deck in pots. They got towers and stuff now that you can put several different plants in. So get started and fall in love with gardening. So if you have any questions, comment below, like and subscribe, and we'll see you later. Thanks, bye.